Have you ever thought about why we question our worth? Am I pretty? Am I handsome? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Usually, at some point in our life, we question our worth or we question our looks. And it's usually something that triggers us when we were younger that makes us lead us to that question. And my story is at the age of 11. My auntie looked at me straight in my eyes and she said to me with her distinct Caribbean accent, "Alyscia, you're getting ugly." She said it just like that. And it was that very moment that led me to question my looks. It was the first time that I wondered, am I pretty? And it didn't help that the images of the women and the girls I saw in the media, they didn't really look like me. They usually have a lighter complexion, they were tall, skinny, had those high cheekbones, big boobs, had lots of sex appeal. So in other words, nothing like what I looked like when I looked in the mirror. And as a society in general, I believe that we are consumed with images of flawlessness. I think we women in particular find ourselves comparing ourselves, particularly our bodies, to what we see in magazines. And we don't realize that a lot of these images have been photoshopped. So the person that we see in the magazine looks completely opposite than what they really look like. So the roles are usually gone, and it doesn't mean that everyone has roles. Some women are naturally toned, they work out. But my point is that our expectation is unrealistic. And just as the media's depiction of beauty. So we have allowed the use of Photoshop to spin out of control. And most of the young generation doesn't realize that the images they see in the magazines they aren't real. And they often find themselves comparing their body to what they see. So can you imagine what this does to a child's self-esteem? How can one feel good about themselves if what they look like is always criticized, and if the type of body that they have is always ridiculed? And unfortunately, some go to the extreme, both adults and children alike. And usually, if we're continuously told that we are not worthy, eventually we believe it. And although I focus on women, we often don't hear the stories of men. The media also makes them kind of feel a little ashamed of their body and the way they look. I don't know about you, but I prefer the Clooney on the left than the right, because for me, he looks like a real man, and this one kind of looks like a doll. Not really my type. And also, women are the ones who suffer from poor body image. I don't know if you ever noticed, but with men, it's more about adding on. You got to get more buff, get stronger. And with women, it's about subtracting, getting a flat stomach, losing the weight. And so they often, what we haven't realized is studies have shown that adolescent boys and men are also suffering from poor self-image. And women aren't the only one who, when we consider what beauty is. Honestly, we can't really pinpoint how this whole thing started, but what we do know is that there are 6 media giants who control 90% of what we read, see, and listen to. So that includes GE, Viacom, News Corp, Disney, Time Warner, and CBS. That's 232 media executives that control the information of 277 million Americans. And when you think about the whole media industry, it really all boils down to money. So ads constantly tell us that we're not good enough. Cover up your grays, put on a wig, put the makeup on, cover it up, anti-aging serums. We have become this quick fix society to try to strive for perfections. And I really thought about what is beauty around the world. So for example, the Padang tribe, beauty is considered a long neck. So starting at the age of 6, girls wear brass rings, and they continue to add it as they get older. And the only time it is removed is on their wedding night. And then you have the Wadobe tribe of South Africa. They are judged, in order for them to get a wife, based on their dancing and their singing skills, and also the whites around their eyes and their teeth. And by the way, ladies, the women can choose more than one husband. Just wanted to point that one out. And the Bali people believe that it's beautiful to shave their teeth, and because it's believed to repress anger, resentment, jealousy, and other forms of negative emotions. And also there are some African Amazonian tribes that consider beauty to be achieved by stretching the lips. So they make a hole, which is gradually increased by inserting a plate, and sometimes they remove teeth to accommodate for the plate. That's painful, but to some of these practices may seem natural to us and kind of strange, but to them, it's beautiful. So for me, when it comes down to it, beauty is totally defined by the beholder. And it's important that we know that we have our own beauty and we possess it inside. So it's no different than the magnificence that we see when we look at the land as the sun sets on this beautiful earth. And to each their own. In no way am I judging anyone, if they decide to enhance their looks in any way. But I do believe that it's vital that we appreciate the person that we see when we look in the mirror. And if you don't, you leave it up to the media to manipulate not only our minds, but also our children. And the great thing is there's a wave of activists that are changing the whole dynamics of beauty, including myself. And this all came to me from my own story and challenge with beauty as a child. And they're just, as a reminder, we're just letting people know that we are all beautiful in our own way. Let me go back to the question now. When it says, who says what's beautiful? We do. So if we allow feed into the media's propaganda and they profit from our insecurities, then that's how they gain. But if we look up and decided that we really loved our bodies and who we are, all we can do is shift the focus into a more positive direction. So my name is Alyscia Cunningham, and I'm here just to remind you that you are all beautiful.